In this module we examine the else clause, which is actually part of the if statement. We've seen that the if statement is actually a powerful language construct. Now that may be, but we still haven't seen a way to do the following two things. Firstly, we haven't discovered how to execute commands if a given command produces a non-zero exit status. The examples that I've shown you so far only execute the given code if a zero exit status is produced. We also want to find out a way to execute perhaps some other commands if the given condition that's specified is not met. In other words, we might want to do one set of code if the condition is met and another set of code if the condition is not met. Now, to this end, there is an addition to the if statement known as the else clause, and the else clause indeed offers us a solution to both of these problems. This is what the else does to the if statement. It's pretty much as you would expect if you've ever been a programmer. Just before the phi, you actually put the word else, and then you put a separate set of commands. So you'll either get the first set happen or you'll get the second set happen, depending on the value in command. So in other words, if command returns an exit status of 0, then you'll get the first set of commands, and if command produces an exit status that is non-zero, in other words false, you'll get what I've called another set of commands. Let's have a look at an example of that. It's pretty much an extension of the example that I showed you just a moment ago. If the files are the same, then echo out the files are the same and remove one of them. Else, in other words, the files are different, then echo out a word to that effect, and then also echo out please review the differences, and then we can obviously do the diff again, which will then this time display the differences. We didn't display the differences the first time, we redirected them to /dev/null. About the only thing you have to remember about all of this is that there has to be at least one command in the first half of the if statement and at least one in the second half, or in the else clause of the if statement. So if you think about it, we actually now have a way to execute a command if a given other command returns a non-zero exit status. Now what does that mean? Well, suppose that all I want to do is one particular block of code. In other words, it won't be like the previous example I showed you, where we'll do one set of code if the condition is met and another set of code if the condition is not met. All I want to do is one block of code if the condition is not met, or in other words, if the command produces a non-zero exit status. Now let's have a look at how we might do that. Here we're testing to see whether file 1 exists or not, and in this particular code snippet we've decided that if the file does exist, then we really don't care. There's nothing that we want to do if the file does exist. We only want to do something if the file does not exist, and at that point we want to put out an error message and exit the program. So the way we go about that is we actually have a little do nothing command in the first half of the if statement. The do nothing command in Unix is just colon. Colon by itself is actually a Unix program. It does nothing at all. Pretty similar actually to the true and false programs. They do nothing at all as well. So if you like, we have an empty first half of the if statement, and we actually put what we want to do into the second half of the if statement, into the else clause. Now I'll give you some exercises and practice for all of this at the end of the chapter, but for now we're going to move on to the next module.